Hey folks, welcome back to Nikki T Live. I'm your host Nick Taylor, and today I'm hanging out with Jamie Barton. Jamie, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks very much for having me.
Yeah,
How
no,
are you
this is
doing?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. I know we chatted a while ago to get this set up. I think you had a lot on the go, and I was pretty busy too. But glad we could finally make this happen. Um,
Yeah, yeah, that was some time ago. Just joined a new company, and you know how it goes, trying to
no,
find your
totally.
feet. But actually, I noticed I think it was on Twitter the other day, or maybe on Instagram. I had a post from RemixConf, and I think you actually took
Okay.
the photo at RemixConf of me
Yeah,
and my
yeah.
colleagues, which is great.
Yeah. Yeah, it was
That,
you and Heather. Yeah, I was gonna say
yeah,
you, Heather, and I can't remember who your other colleague was, but
Jonathan. Yeah,
oh,
yeah.
Jonathan. Yeah, no, that's where we met. I don't think we chatted too much there, but yeah, it was cool to see you there, and it's kind of funny because that's where I met Glauber, who's one of the founders of Turso, and so it's kind of not funny, but it's cool that that you were there, he was there, and now you're working
Small
there.
world.
So,
Yeah.
um, but yeah, no, it's super cool. And I guess before we kind of jump into things, because we're definitely going to talk about all things Turso, I'm going to just drop
Mhm.
some links where people can give you a follow. And I'm also just going to just drop a link for DigitalOcean real quick here. Just want to thank DigitalOcean for sponsoring the stream today. They've got an event going on July 9th that I encourage you to check out. It's called Deploy by DigitalOcean, and it's a virtual free conference for devs, startups, and founders. So definitely check that out. And with the ads out of the way, yeah, I guess for folks who might not know who you are, Jamie, would you mind saying a little bit about yourself? Feel free to talk about how you got into tech if you'd like to. We don't have to go back from like straight out of the womb, but
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. So I keep saying to people I've been around a while, and I keep saying to my wife, I'm old. Like I don't know about you, but like I just keep saying I'm old. I'm old in this industry. But I got a PC, started playing around with building websites. I think I was in middle school. This is like a long
okay,
time ago. Like Tiny and Time were like PCs you would buy, and you had Windows 95. And
yeah,
I
yeah,
was just learning front page, and I used front page, and I remember trying to like update my OS, and I lost front page, and I was like, oh, what do I do now? So I ended up like using Notepad and a bunch of other stuff, and then
yeah,
a few years go by, I start learning Flash, and there was a variant called Swish Max, which was a bit easier,
okay,
and I started using that for a while, and just build Flash websites, and I was like, this is cool. All these animations and sound effects and graphics, and they took forever to upload. They took forever to load
hmm
online back in the 56K days. But
yeah, oh, yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
I love that time. I updated my profile today actually before coming on here because I knew I would say it to like macro media Flash advocate
Yeah,
because
yeah, no, totally.
I just loved it. But yeah, I did. I started doing that, and then I went to university and did web development and management, and they were teaching us Flash, and I was just like,
Okay,
this is like the iPhone had just came out a few years prior, and I was like,
oh,
meh,
okay, yeah,
this is not the future. So I started like learning some PHP. I'd already been doing PHP a little bit on the side. Started doing that a little
okay,
bit more, and I dropped out, and then went back to do a different course, and then yeah, just kind of continued development, learning development. I went to a
okay,
job doing Ruby on Rails for a long period of time, about five,
okay,
6 years. And then I joined a startup about 8 years ago, and I joined as an engineer. And then I was just like, man, these docs and the developer experience isn't great. Can I spend some time like just going through this? And for some reason, I was attracted to that.
yeah,
Maybe since back in the days of like running forums online, I would like post tutorials. I
okay,
think that was in me, always in me. So yeah,
okay,
kind of long story, like, but yeah, I've just been
yeah,
doing DevRel and engineering pretty much ever since, and I love it.
okay,
So yeah, a
yeah,
long
that's
way,
cool.
a long time ago than Flash, but
Yeah. Yeah, no,
getting it back.
I hear you. I remember I did some Flash for like I went to university for computer science, but when I got back from university, there was a desktop web publishing course. Oh no, actually, no, sorry, I did do this Flash thing at university, but it I wasn't like super well versed in Flash, but I just all I remember was I had made it was the song Flight of the Valkyries, and it was an animation where Super Mario was sitting on a plunger, like riding it like a broom, and I had copied it multiple times, so there's just all these Super Marios flying across the screen, and
Yeah. Yeah.
it was just silly stuff, and like to your point about like the Flash era, there's just like there's a lot of really amazing games, to be honest, and
Oh, wow. Yeah.
like
Yeah, a lot.
yeah, and like you were saying, obviously the iPhone killed that because like they literally killed Flash,
Yeah.
but it's kind of interesting to see some of those things kind of coming back in different forms now, but
Yeah, I would love to try and build a game with like all the HTML and CSS stuff that we've got now, all the variables and the Java. Maybe it's not so much JavaScript, but definitely building a game in a browser would be really fun. Um,
yeah.
we'll probably need preloaders to load all the files again.
Yeah, yeah,
um,
no, totally.
but yeah,
Yeah.
the first startup that I joined, the CEO of that company actually was in my university
Oh, no
on
way.
my university course. So it's a small world.
Yeah, no, it's always a small world. It's like I don't know. Anytime it's not the same thing, but like I played rugby for many years, and it doesn't matter where I am. I'll just bring it up for whatever reason, and somebody's like, "Oh, I know so and so," and then like there's always like 6 degrees of separation, and it's just I don't know.
Yeah,
It's just
always.
really funny, but well, funny in a good
Yeah.
way. But yeah, no, that's cool. Yeah, no, I feel like we're kind of from similar eras because I definitely remember like well working on Windows 95 and all that stuff, and playing a lot of Minesweeper and stuff like
Creating boot scripts on floppy disks.
yeah, yeah,
Uh,
yeah, like yeah,
yeah,
your CD-ROM drivers that they had to load up.
yeah, yeah. We did some
Yeah.
fun stuff in school with floppy disks, like selling floppy disks that used to load profiles. It was
Okay.
fun. NetSend, yeah, it was
Yeah, yeah.
great times,
The,
great times.
yeah, there was that I forget when it happened, but you used to be able to net send all, and like you could like that's probably what you're talking about. They obviously
Yeah,
fixed it after a while, but I just remember being on like the university
yeah,
campus, and then all of a sudden everybody's getting like this message, and it's like, what's going on? It's like,
yeah,
anyways, yeah,
yeah. It was so good, so good.
yeah,
Um,
totally.
uh, yeah, and then you yeah, and then I think after all of that, I got into GraphQL for a while.
Okay.
Joined a company doing GraphQL for some period of time. So I was doing like content and videos, consultancy and development in GraphQL for about sort of 4 to 5 years.
Okay.
That was really good. And then got into databases.
Okay. Yeah. Cool. Cool. Also, just want to say thanks for the follow, Fatuma on Twitch. Cool. Cool. Yeah. No, it's we were talking briefly before the stream, but like uh, you know, I've definitely worked with databases. You kind of it's kind of unavoidable if you're building an application.
Yeah,
I think for the most part,
yeah,
but kind of come from some more old school like having done web forms like we were chatting about, and so I was using SQL Server and stored procedures, and after that, I remember MongoDB came out, and I remember they had a meetup in Montreal where I'm at, and I went to that, and it was really cool. And I jumped into Meteor JS, which was like a
yeah,
full stack framework before its time,
yeah,
probably, but they had Mongo wired in there. It was really easy to work with. And then like after that, just kind of not pivoted, but like I kind of switched career path, not career paths, but like I got into open source. I was really interested in it, and .NET was great. C Sharp's a great language, but at the time it wasn't open source, and I was really into open source. So kind of went on the full stack Node slash TypeScript and React early on in like 2015. So kind of been riding that wave, and then since then, haven't typically worked with databases a lot. Like I mean. I've definitely had to because like at Dev 2 it was a Rails monolith, so we were using Postgres, so I'd have to do some migration sometimes if I was doing some full stack work and it, kind of bringing it to Turso. I'll just drop a link for Turso for folks to check out, but I'd been aware of SQLite and I knew like it was in my phone for certain applications. And I actually
Yeah,
discovered last year because I have a Kobo e-reader, and I discovered that they
yeah,
actually use SQLite in there to index the database because like which I found kind of fascinating. But basically, it's like proliferated in so many things,
it's
and
everywhere.
yeah, and to kind of bring it to Turso, so like Turso is based off of SQLite, but I don't know if you want to speak a little more about kind of like where things kind of diverge
Yeah,
or
yeah. SQL, well, Turso SQLite for production. So
yeah,
there's always this kind of story of SQLite is either on local, on disk, on your machine, can't be replicated, can't be distributed, can't be accessed by more than one person or whatever. Which, in 2024, if you want to use SQLite, you can. You can use it in production. You can use it in multi-tenancy. Um,
yeah,
and I joined the team late last year, so Turtle had already been a thing, and I was really intrigued by what they were building. Others had attempted, and there's lots of other solutions as well that's doing this. But Turtle is really nice, and it kind of where I first started to follow Turso was when serverless databases were kind of all popping off. Everyone was releasing a
yeah,
serverless database, all right? So that's kind of one of the things that the team experimented with. And still today, a lot of people use us for that, but it's probably not the primary reason people use Turso. It does lots of other
okay,
things, which I'll go into. But I started to follow it for the edge story, like, oh, I can put a
yeah,
database at the edge at SQLite. It can be multi-tenant, and access it, read to it, replicate it. So that's where
yeah.
I first started, but it does a lot more. It does a lot more.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, that's where well, because like we were talking briefly before, we met at Remix conference, and that's where I met Glauber, and then I did a live stream with him last year. I can dig that up. But yeah, my first understanding of what Turso was like an edge database, um, and it's I guess edge databases can be something kind of complicated. Like from what like I think for a lot of things, like the problem is the latency. Like, right, if I'm in Montreal and or if I'm in Australia and like, it's in US East 1, obviously there's latency there. Um
Yeah.
and and from what I understood, you can have all these replications of your database. The reads at the end of the day are what's more important typically.
Mhm.
Like obviously writing, you still want it to be fast, but I almost feel like people are kind of accustomed to when you save something that it's not, sometimes you get a spinner or
Yeah.
it's whatever, but it's the reads that you want like super fast. And there, there's other things like caching you can put in place and stuff, but like when you need to read the raw database, you want it to be fast and that's still the story or like one of the use cases, right?
One of the use cases, I can't remember the specific numbers of percentage of people who replicate, but it's a good chunk, but it's not the primary use case. A lot of people embed the database, which is kind of, I think, really, really cool. Like it's something which, when I look back and all of the times I've used SQLite in the past, I'm like, yeah, it was embedded on my local machine. Now I'm able to embed it on the server alongside
Yeah.
my app. So when you do make those reads, there is zero latency on the network because it doesn't go via the network. You can keep that
Hmm.
SQLite file right next to your index.php and it can read that file. And I just think that's an amazing way to embed your database and read to it, read
Yeah.
from it and write. So that's another use case, and we see a lot of
Yeah.
people doing that. Um, and I guess what that means is because the way that Turso is set up in regards to kind of replication, you can sign up
Hmm.
and you can create a database and you kind of create a group, and then you can add replicas to that group, and those are distributed to different locations around the world. But if you didn't want to do that, you could take that replication, that replica
Okay.
file, and you could embed it on your own server wherever you wanted. And then you could just have a primary with Turso that was kind of in
Okay.
control of distributing those replications and making
Okay.
sure that it's up to date. And I think that's another like really cool use case that probably is thinking back now, like, yeah, it was replicated locally, but you can do that remotely local as well,
Yeah.
if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, no, totally. And I guess the other thing, like in terms of like not so much kind of dispelling like false, I guess, knowledge about SQLite is like, you hear SQLite, so you think, okay, it's not as powerful as like air
Yeah.
quotes a real database, but like that's really not the case. And like, I guess, not that we need to get into the internals or anything, but like, I guess what makes SQLite like so fast at a high level, at least compared to like other databases?
Yeah, I think that the fact that it is just a file and something that you can embed and doesn't require massive amounts of resources to deal with. I think at a high level, for me at least, that's one of the appealing things. But I
Okay.
definitely think I think the mistake in naming it light in the name is it adds to this misconception of, oh, it's just a toy database. But in fact,
Yeah.
it's lightweight, you could say. So it's easy to port around and replicate wherever you want. So yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
it's definitely not light in terms of features.
Yeah, yeah. No, for sure. Yeah, and I think another interesting use case like I've heard a lot about the local first movement, and I can definitely see SQLite or Turso fitting in there.
Yeah,
Um, yeah.
yeah,
No,
yeah. We were
no, that's
talking
cool.
about that today.
Oh, okay.
We've got some experiments internally about being able to kind of replicate local to the browser, and also offline writes as well. We didn't mention it before, but the ability to you mentioned people are okay in waiting when they write, but actually we want
Yeah.
to try and figure out how can we allow local writes so you can write to that file
Oh, okay.
that's on the server, and then that can go back to primary and say, hey, I've got these updates, and then another node could say the same thing, and then we figure out how
Yeah.
to make all of that up to date.
Okay. Yeah, that makes me think of I was working at this AI startup in 2017, and we were using CouchDB.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
just different offering, but like they had something called PouchDB, which would sync from like so kind of to what you're saying. So I imagine it would be something similar to that. I don't know if that thing is still around, but it, it to be fair, it actually not fair, but like we ran into issues with the syncing because like syncing something, especially once other writes have happened,
Oh yeah.
it's not an easy task for sure. Like
Yeah.
you know, but that's cool that you're working on that because like obviously if you can speed up the writes, like even if it's not hypothetical, but like you get the writes right away locally, it's kind of like it's not optimistic rendering, but it's like
Yeah.
optimistic data persistence or
Yeah,
optimistic.
yeah, yeah,
I don't know what the
yeah,
term is,
yeah.
but yeah, no, that's cool. That's cool. Yeah. So, I guess to kind of not switch gears, but like there's it's we're still talking Turso here, but there's something that your team's been cooking for a little while here, and it's multi-tenant database schemas, which is kind of like the big line which we kind of wanted to discuss today. But um, I guess for those unfamiliar with Turso or even potentially, not much experience with databases in general, the I guess talk briefly what the schema is, and then maybe we can kind of dive into what multi-tenancy for the database schemas is.
Yeah, sure. So yeah, obviously one of the other use cases of Turso is the multi-tenancy. It's not the only thing we do, like we've discussed other things, but it's something
Yeah,
that we're experimenting with, and we have users that are signing up, using this, trying this out, and giving us feedback to improve. And the schema that describes the database as structure, um, we for a long time, I guess, if you wanted to build anything in a multi-tenant approach, you would have to, deal with row level security, and you'd have to create different, maybe you could go as far as creating different databases, and
yeah,
then managing all of those yourself and whatever. But you could create inside of your database columns that represent maybe say user ID, let's say, or a tenant ID, and
Yeah.
you'd have to. I'm sure you've done it like me. You write a query to fetch all of your to-dos, let's say, right? Classic.
Yeah.
Um, you fetch all your to-dos and you forget to passing where user ID equals current user ID. Right? You
Yeah.
forget to do that, right? But it's just like that's a small thing. You just keep you have to build your application with this in mind, like, oh, I have to constrain everything, and sometimes the ORM will take care of it, sometimes it won't. Frameworks can and can't deal with that kind of behavior. So yeah,
Mhm.
we thought long and hard. How can we, with the power of SQLite being a simple database, how can we change this? Like, is there
Yeah.
something there? Um, and I only recently joined the company when they were kind of experimenting with this, and I
Okay.
thought this is really cool. Like, this is really cool. In the last launch week, we published a beta version of this where you can create a database, create that schema, the structure, and then you can create additional databases, and you can point to that schema. So all these
Okay.
databases share that schema. Now, at a lower level, you all have that schema, but you can't modify it in kind of a, let's say, a parent and child. You can't modify the child databases, but the parent you can, and then any updates that happen trickle down to the child. So, in a nutshell, that's pretty much what goes on.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's cool. So, so yeah, like you're saying, the team, I guess just to preface what we might dig into today, it's still kind of experimental. Like it's not production ready yet. Is that correct? Or
I would say it's in. It works. It
okay.
works, but the things like the developer experience of it, and we don't have all of the APIs yet, so you can kind of monitor any schema changes correctly. I mean, it's there, but you've kind of got to go digging for it. So we want to make sure that this is working in the way people want.
Yeah.
But definitely, if you want to, I'm building stuff using it. I think it's just so cool, and it just removes the need of making databases complicated in a kind of a
Okay.
multi-tenant approach.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, no, for sure. Um, in terms of, I guess, digging into this, did we want to look at some docs, or did you want me to open up the CLI, or like I'm up for whatever you think makes sense.
Yeah, we could do a few things. First of all, I could just show you an example that is using it underneath, and
Okay.
then maybe we could look at the code for that, and then maybe we could create a database, depending on how
Okay.
much
Yeah.
time you've
Sure.
got. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think we got time. Yeah. Did you want to share your
Yeah.
screen,
Um, if
or do you want me to?
you could share yours if you wanted to, and then
Okay. Cool.
um, yeah, if you want to share your screen and go to GitHub, I'll show you an example repo.
Okay. All right. So we're going to. Is it Turso Tech now? I know the name. Turso database. Sorry.
If you just go to my profile, this example's on mine. Just
Okay.
something that I'm cooking at the moment until I
Haha.
perfect it.
Is it
Yeah,
is
so
it
it's
no trav or?
yeah, which is Barton backwards. And then
Oh, I
Turso.
just clued into that. I was curious. Was it like from a video game? But okay. Anyways.
Yeah, everyone. Yeah, yeah, yeah. If I think if you go to repositories and just search platform Turso platforms.
Yeah. Okay. There's a starter here. That one.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
And
Cool.
then
Cool.
if you click the link and go there
Yeah.
and sign in.
I'm just gonna go ahead and just share this in the chat for folks if they want to check it out. Okay. Cool. So the Vercel app here. Okay. Okay. So I'll just zoom in. So I'm gonna sign in. Okay. I already have an account with GitHub. So okay. See, we're using our friends at Clerk.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I seen it was a Jacob that you had on. Is it Jacob?
Yeah, it's kind of funny. I've streamed with a few of them. I streamed with Dom before he worked there, I think, and then I
Yeah.
streamed with Dev and then Jacobs.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, so I love Clerk. I think it's really easy. Tesla's using it now as well to power the platform,
Oh, that's great.
user side of stuff. So it's really cool. But I wanted to build this to prove this multi-tenancy. Like, well, this is taking it a step further. This is like per user databases. So
Okay.
um, when you logged in, what has happened here is in the background, this has created a database on Turso via the
Okay.
API, and it's pointing to the schema for to-dos. So
Okay.
now you can insert data, and if
Okay.
anyone else is watching or later watches and visits this link, when you log in, you will have your own to-dos, and this is
Okay.
using your own database.
Oh,
So
okay. Okay.
I don't know if this button works at the top. I clicked it earlier today, and I built this demo like months ago, and it didn't work. Um, but it might say no data, or it might download. But you can download your own database, so you can
Oh,
have a
okay.
copy of that. And that's just
Okay.
the
Let's see.
SQL for that file.
Oh, okay. Okay. We open
Might be
that.
empty. I'm not sure.
Okay. Whoops. Uh, definitely don't want to be using my. Okay. No data yet. It says.
No data. Yeah, yeah. Um, I think I'll update the repo. But yeah, essentially, you can download your data. I think that's just that's not a bug with Turso. I think that's just my poor um, code.
Okay. So
Yeah,
so just to understand again, so like if I come to the app here, like assuming I just started fresh, I log in, the uh the schema gets replicated into my own database. I do my to-dos, and then like you said, you threw the download button together real quickly, but assuming it can pull down my data now, but somebody else goes in, they're gonna get their own instance of a database that
yeah.
basically uh, the multi-tenant schema basically gets cloned from the parent, right? That's what happens.
Yeah, we apply migrations on top of that database from the parent. So
Okay.
that when you sign up, and we're using webhooks, which trigger that API function to create the
Okay.
database, we just tell the API, this is the name of my new database. I think in this
Okay.
code, I just use the user ID, and then we point to the parent schema, the parent database or schema, whatever you want to call it,
Okay.
and then those are projected onto the new database. And it's as
Okay.
simple as that, really.
Yeah, and you
Just
mentioned something pretty cool, I think, which is like if the parent schema, if there's changes to that schema, it will propagate it, which is pretty cool. Like that that
yeah,
sounds maybe trivial, me just saying that, but that's a pretty powerful concept, I think. Um,
yeah, yeah. There's barely any involvement from the user needed from the developer. If you take the workflow of open a pull request to add a new feature and you have that
yeah.
migration is something you would apply to the parent DB,
Okay.
the main database, the schema database. And then when you merge, you could have some action that says, okay, perform it on the real database. And then
Okay.
from that point, Turso will detect that and run the migrations on all of the child databases. Now,
Okay.
when you commented about or asked about the production readiness,
Yeah.
um, while it works in production, the ability to kind of monitor those migrations is not fully visible. It's there
Okay.
if you go digging, but I would love for us to make that a little bit more clearer. So that's what we're working on, is to make that stuff, you know,
Okay.
a lot more easier and approachable to if you want to monitor that stuff.
Yeah. And like I can I mean, I can see this being super powerful because like imagine I have a SaaS where you don't want to have a multi-tenant database, but you want to say like, here's my new client, and you don't want to have to do that whole process of okay, let me spin up a database and whatever,
Yeah,
like this for the most part. I mean, we can maybe talk about the flow, but because that parent schema is there, obviously you got to do some code to say go get me a new database, but that's I can just see that being like such a power tool for somebody who's like an indie, or I mean, it doesn't even have to be an indie hacker, but like just in general,
yeah,
that process seems a lot more lightweight. And again, getting back to the like when there's changes made, how you can propagate that upgrade to everybody, and there's like nothing you really need to do. I'm thinking there isn't, but all you
yeah.
do is you update the initial or the parent schema, and then everybody just benefits. That's like pretty freaking cool.
Oh yeah, yeah. I think so. I kept saying to Globo once I first seen the demo of this, I was like, this is so cool. This is
Yeah.
amazing. Um, I'm the same. I'm just like, this is really cool because it simplifies. Like, I look at it from the point of view as a developer, like building my app. I mentioned before about adding the where clause. It might not be a big thing, but
Yeah,
it adds up. It could be technical debt because you forget to include it on new features, or you fix something and forget to change it. And I think
yeah,
removing all of that just makes it easier. Like, you can just work with an app as if you're the single tenant, and then that's all you ever work with. There is this parent controlling everything,
yeah,
but you're dealing with it as a single user.
yeah. No, totally, totally. So, I guess, I guess, do we want to kind of like I don't know how far you want to go with this because like I know we don't have like the whole day, but like I guess do you think we would have time in like say over like the next hour to be able to like create a simple schema and then kind of demonstrate
Yeah,
just
yeah, yeah,
okay, cool. Okay.
yeah.
Um
So I'm assuming because you've spoken with Glover already, you have the CLI installed.
yeah, I
Yeah,
do.
cool.
Yeah, I upgraded it this morning just because I wasn't sure. I figured it was probably a good idea to be on the latest CLI.
Yeah.
Cool. So let's go to streams here. Okay, cool. Uh, okay, so I'll just double check though. Turso dash V. Okay, why did it not upgrade? I could have sworn I upgraded. Let's do that. Turso update, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, it's saying it's out. Okay, no available form. Okay, this isn't a Turso error. This is a
Yeah.
homebrew error.
Oh, classic. Yeah. I maybe just remove it completely.
Yeah, okay. Brew uninstall Turso. And if for
Yeah.
some reason there's
It,
problems with homebrew, I can always do like the other install way. But
yeah.
okay, we'll
Yeah.
see if it
It may
finds it this
be.
time.
I think the brew name is probably changed. The
Oh, okay,
Since you first installed, that could be the reason. Let me just check the full URL for the install.
okay, yeah,
Yeah, if you've
uh,
had it installed already, it could be that you've updated to the latest version of the
yeah.
the
I'm just
version
gonna see
previously.
on the site here.
Yeah,
Okay,
so brew
card.
install Turso database slash tap
Okay,
slash Turso.
okay,
Join
okay,
that.
okay. Sorry, you said it was what again?
Brew install Turso database slash tap altogether. Yeah, slash Turso.
Okay, yeah, it definitely changed.
Yeah, yeah. I think it was like Turso Chisel Strike slash Turso before.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, yeah. The repo got not the repo, but the org got renamed, and so maybe that changed a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so let's just see here now. Okay, I'm on
Ho- ho-
0.96 now.
ho-
Okay,
Hopefully, yeah.
perfect. Okay, perfect.
Yeah, looks good.
Okay,
So
so yeah,
yeah, Turso auth login would be the first thing you could try.
yeah, cool. All
And
right,
then
so okay, I'm
cool.
already authenticated. I was on my dashboard earlier. Okay, so we're logged
All right,
in,
awesome.
and oh,
Let's check if you've got any databases, so Turso DB list.
yeah, I think I have one at the moment. Or oh, DB list. Sorry. Yeah.
Oh,
Okay. Yeah.
okay, cool. All right. If you do Turso group list, just want to check the version here.
Okay.
No groups?
Nope, doesn't look like it.
No.
This could have been like very early days.
Yeah,
So
maybe. Yeah, things change. Things have moved around since then. If
yeah,
you're
because that's
okay
like a
to
year and a
just
half ago, I think.
yeah, if you're okay to destroy the database, let's try that.
Okay.
The Turso DB destroy, and then the name of that database.
Oh yeah, what was it? Hold on a sec. I think it was adapting choice. Okay.
Choice. Choice.
Okay. New beginnings. Yes. YOLO. All right, cool.
Yeah,
Okay,
we
so
changed kind of
we're
the way that
clean slate.
group. Yeah, we changed the way databases are created, stored, or the in groups and how they're replicated. So that
Okay,
database is probably on a very old kind of infrastructure version. Um, so the first thing we could do is create a group. And basically, all that's doing is creating a machine that we can stick the file on the database.
okay,
So if you do Turso group create, and then I like to just give it a name of default,
okay,
and that's going to pick the closest region to you
okay. So
for the
YOL,
primary.
YOL for those who aren't aware, that's the Montreal airport code. So okay, so it created a group in Montreal, and okay, cool.
Cool.
Right?
So we could create the schema database first, or we could just create a random database just to show how quick it is to create a
Okay,
database. So if
okay,
you just do Turso DB create
yeah,
and then hit return, it'll pick a random name,
okay,
and then there,
okay. So we
600
got our database.
megabytes
Yeah,
is a
that is
database.
pretty fast.
Yeah, yeah. So at this point, you could connect to that database shell, and then you could add some schema, and then you could do whatever.
Okay,
Um, so if you do show, that'll show details about the database's URL, the version that it's on. Um,
cool.
uh, yeah, sorry, just the screen went off for me. There we go.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah, so we
sorry,
can see
I just
this.
made it bigger.
Sorry. So we can see this thing at the bottom, which is schema, and this is no, and that's because we just created a database and we said it's a database, and by default, it's not a schema database. It's just a regular database.
Okay,
So now, if we create another database, TursoDB create, and we just call this um, parent DB, but
okay,
before you hit return,
yeah.
you
I
want to
can't
pass
type today.
the yeah, you want to pass the flag type
Okay,
and then schema.
okay.
I think that's the yeah, I think that's the flag.
Okay, and yeah, and but before I run this, so just to make it super clear, so like when you create a database, by default, it's just a database. Like there's like schema with it, but its main purpose is it's just a database. Whereas when we create a schema database, it's a database that houses the schema, right? Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, at a kind of a low level, I think that it's just the same. It's just the same kind of
Okay.
database, but when it's tagged as a schema, we kind of observe what happens to that database, and then
Oh, okay.
if it has any databases which are attached, we then we will forward those migrations. So
Okay.
um, if you connect to the shell, Turso DB shell, and then the
Yeah.
name of the database parent DB.
Okay. Parent DB. Also, it's pretty cool that well, this is just the I don't I do have fast internet, but I find the shell is pretty snappy.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. It's just
Okay.
you dialed in. Just do whatever you need. So here we could create a database. Maybe I copy paste one to you.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, there's
Or
messages over. Yeah, if you just where we have our video, you can share it. Let me go. I'm on the wrong screen right now. Oh, there we go. Let me go back. Yeah, if you, I'll drop a message so you can say like, here.
oh yeah,
Cool.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So you could just type in. I don't know if it'll format correctly. Oops.
We'll find out. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
sometimes when this one looks okay, I think it's when I've had people share links before, and for some reason it breaks the links for some reason. So, okay, cool. Okay, so just looking at this, so okay, so we're gonna create a table called users with primary key and just a text field or text column that can't be null. Okay, so this kind of fitting.
Yeah. I mean, you could remove not null if you wanted to. Let's not make things more difficult. We
Okay,
could just
cool.
if you just remove not null. I mean, you could remove text as well, but just keep it there.
Okay.
and that
Cool.
that is ran. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, yeah, so I thought it was still going. I didn't realize it was already
It's
done.
done. It's blazing fast. Yeah. So now if you type dot schema,
Okay,
you
okay,
can see the schema. This is all you have. You have a users table that has an ID and a name column, which is cool. So if you hit dot quit, and we'll quit out the shell,
okay,
and then now if you create a database, TursoDB create, and call this
yeah.
child DB1, and
Okay.
then oh, oh too
Oh, whoops,
fast.
sorry. All right,
It's all
hold
right.
on, sorry. No, no, no. I'm gonna go destroy it. Yes. Cool.
Cool.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Sorry. Too fast.
All right. So now, if you add hyphen hyphen schema
Okay.
and then pass the name parent DB, you called it, or parent hyphen
Yeah.
DB. Yeah.
Okay.
If you do that,
Okay.
cool.
Okay. And then
And then now, if you do Turso DB show child DB1,
yeah. Okay.
oops,
So
sorry, the shell. Sorry, the Turso DB shell, not
oh
the
yeah,
show.
yeah, sorry. Side note, but you can see it's linked to a schema now.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Torso DB shell. Oh, whoops, sorry, shell, right? Just shell?
Turso DB shell, and then the name of the
Oh
child
yeah, yeah.
DB1.
Yeah. Sorry, that's what I missed. DB1. Okay. Super fast again. Okay.
Yeah. So now, if you hit dot schema,
Ah, okay. So they're
schema,
instantaneous. Yeah. So like this,
you create.
yeah, sorry, go ahead. There's the
No, I was
timer.
gonna say, yeah, it's the schema. You've created a new database, and it's using because you passed it the schema, the name of the schema database. It's using that as its schema, which is
Okay.
really cool. Um,
Yeah, no,
and
that's super fast.
yeah, super fast. Yeah. So if you quit out the shell once again,
Yeah.
and then we just go up, you hit up and create another database, ChildDB2, and again, cursor DB shell,
Yeah.
ChildDB2 dot schema,
Okay.
schema's
Yeah.
there. So
Okay.
we have two databases. We've got three, but we've got two databases which are paired with the parent DB.
Hmm.
So now when you're performing queries to select all from you, I mean, users is probably a really bad example. It should have been notes or something, so it's specific to
Yeah,
the
yeah.
user. But as a user, you can query the database and not have to think about users, right? So
Yeah.
that's I think that is really cool. You could do it on a per tenant basis, so it could be, let's say you work in healthcare or whatever, and you need each individual kind of um, hospital or institution needs its own database that's isolated from others in the trust.
Okay.
You could then do that, have a schema database that the governing body maybe controls, and then on a per
Okay.
tenant basis, they can all use that, but data's
Yeah.
isolated.
Yeah, no, for sure. And again, it's super nice that like if you make changes, like I know sometimes people are reluctant to do updates of software. So like this just kind of will just happen automatically. I mean, maybe you can put guards in to say somebody doesn't want to update yet, but like it would make it kind of seamless for them.
Yeah, yeah. So if you quit out of that and we connect to the parent, um, yeah, connect to the parent DB, cursor DB
Okay,
shell,
okay. Let's go back to the parent DB. Okay.
and then let me write some more SQL in here. Yeah, I mean, you could just type. Let's
Yeah, the
try.
select.
Yeah, let's try that.
So what? Select star from what?
Whoops, sorry. If you just type alter table, I put it in the
Oh, okay.
chat.
Oh, sorry. Let me go copy it instead of me trying to wing it here.
Yeah, sometimes it's easier to copy paste.
I am definitely not a DBA. Okay, cool. All right, let's
Me
grab
neither. So if
that.
this works. I'm impressed with myself.
Okay.
I
So, okay, I see. Okay. All right. So we're gonna run this, and this is obviously gonna add a column to our database. Um, but I guess from what we've been chatting about, oh, thanks for the follow, Wesley Coder. I guess this is where things get interesting because the parent database schema does not have this, but ours does. Um, I guess I guess one thing I'm curious about here is, so like obviously we can extend whatever the initial thing was. How does this work with migrations though? Or I guess
Yeah.
it wouldn't affect it potentially, or maybe it would. Or
Yeah, so in in the perfect world where we're just adding columns, and maybe they're nullable, then it's okay, but we're still figuring out the best way to deal with tables that have data,
okay,
or you want to, change data. There's certain instances with SQLite where if you want to rename a column or change its type, you have to drop everything, you have to create a new table, copy everything over, rename, delete,
yeah,
and it's a bit of a mess. I, that should just be better, and I'm hoping with the work we're doing with MultiDB schemas, we can make that easier. So what's happening here is you're altering the table users on the parent DB, adding the
hmm,
column email, and that's executed, I think, right? So you can hit .schema, and you should now see the updated schema for the parent DB,
okay,
and
yeah,
then yeah,
okay. Sorry, sorry, I got distracted by the chat for a second. Can you repeat that?
yeah. Just if you just hit if you just type .schema,
Yeah.
we'll see if
Okay,
what's in
so
there.
we've got our email in there now, and this again
Oh, cool.
is, yeah. So this is obviously diverged from the original schema, but uh, yeah, I guess this is interesting too because like it's kind of, well, it's an interesting way where people could just build on top of that. Like I'm just thinking of stuff like I don't know, like because like obviously you have that partnership with Astro. I'm a fan of Astro, but I could see somebody building like an Astro template, like a starter template, where like they could have a site kind of like you have with the to dos, where it could like just literally spin
Yeah, yeah,
off
yeah.
a new template, and then that's the template. um and then they could continue on and like add other stuff if they wanted, but like I could just see that as being an interesting way. Like I don't think there's any marketplace. Well, I think there's a marketplace for templates for Astro, but I could see something like this being interesting, like, hey, go ahead, spin off
Yeah,
your,
yeah, yeah. So, a quick side note: a few weeks ago, we worked on. I managed to convince the CEO Blobber to create buy a domain name,
okay.
SQLite.new, and so
Oh,
now you can go to
very nice.
SQLite.new and you can create a SQLite database and use that. The thing that I want to
Okay.
work on next is, and also with that SQLite.new, it gives you that button experience, so
Whoops,
you
two
can
L's, right?
we've
Oh no,
always
I didn't spell it
we've
right.
all I think it's right, yeah, we've all seen the Heroku deploy button, the Netlify, the Vercel deploy buttons.
Yeah.
I want to do this with SQLite. So this is what we have now, where you
Okay.
can just create a database. You're already logged in because you sign in by the CLI.
Okay.
um,
Yeah.
so you can just create a database and it's done. So I think if you hit that now, it'll just create a database. Boom, done.
Okay.
Right?
Cool.
That's how quick it is to create a database. And I think this is cool. But what
Yeah.
you said is really interesting about the templates, because that is something that I think this could also contain, is a
Oh
list of
yeah.
all of these templates for databases, and then you can retrieve the button, add that to your tutorial, course, book, whatever you've got, example,
Hmm.
reference app, and when someone wants to set it up, just like you would click deploy to Vercel or Netlify or Heroku or
Yeah.
wherever, you can click create database and it opens this, creates a database, gives you the token. So this is
Yeah.
like something we're working on, um, and want to make better. But what you said struck with me because I think the template story here is really good, just for
Yeah.
helping people build and,
Yeah. Not
share what they're building.
Yeah. Not only that, but like for like say for the person that is building the templates, say they make updates to it, all they need to do is update the parent schema,
Yeah,
and then
yeah,
like the
yeah,
rest just keeps working again. Like obviously you'd probably have like for like the front end or the whatever web framework you're using with you probably have some changes there too, like if you've added fields and stuff. But again, I feel like it removes a lot of burden from like past ways of kind of having to do these things. So
yeah, tons, tons, and that's why it's why I've enjoyed working with it. Um,
yeah,
but yeah, that was just a side note because SQLite.new is definitely headed in that direction where you've got this
yeah,
button you can embed, and maybe we could allow people to host their schema databases,
okay,
um, or whatever, yeah, and make them accessible. Make a database. Yeah, I guess what you're saying is you could create a database that is a schema database and make it public, publicly accessible or publicly clonable. That's the word.
yeah, exactly,
And that,
yeah,
yeah, yeah, that'd be really, really cool. Um,
yeah. Anyways,
yeah,
just cool
yeah. But
stuff.
anyways, yeah. What you did before, adding that email field,
Okay, yeah,
um,
let's get back there.
if you quit out of this shell,
Okay,
so just yeah, yeah. So just to recap, we've connected to the parent DB, we've altered the table users, we've added a column email. Now, if you Turso DB shell child DB one, I think you called it,
yeah,
and then you do dot schema,
okay,
you have that email column,
okay, cool, cool. Yeah, no, that's
which is
nice.
really cool.
Yeah, yeah, and
So that's that. Yeah, that's how easy it is. That's pretty much it.
yeah, no, I feel like you're underselling it. It's not just it, but like it's like I'm sure there's like some serious engineering effort going into this, or like there was like a lot of thought into this. Is this I'm kind of curious. Has anybody else done this like in the database line, or is this something unique to Turso? Or
Um, I think what we are doing in the SQLite space probably is unique. There are
okay,
other variations where you have the database and you treat this tenant column or tenant ID column, and then you talk to the database with maybe the access token, and that access
okay,
token can only access data that's specific to that tenant ID, right?
okay, okay,
That's the traditional way of other databases, and it works. But when you think about the the embeddability of these databases, and you think about what you were talking about with local, being able to replicate your own database locally so you can work
hmm
offline, do your local writes, and then when you come back online, push that back up. The schema is all that app really needs to care about, right? It just
yeah,
needs to go, am I up to date? Yep, cool. I'll pull latest updates, do any migrations on the server. It's all handled for you. But then
hmm
it's because it's a SQLite file and it can be embedded. What you're embedding is your database, not terabytes of someone else's data. So
yeah.
security and stuff. It doesn't matter at that point. It's just your data.
Okay, yeah, yeah, it's true. Yeah, and this is making me think of some other use cases, like like we kind of mentioned SQLite or Turso, which is like production ready SQLite. Um, I was I did a live stream last week with Travis Nyhoff, who's somebody I met through my live stream, but he works in the telecom industry where they have IoT devices out in the field to monitor, like there's like cooling systems and stuff for telecom towers and stuff. And I don't know if they use SQLite, but I could see this being like in an IoT scenario where you have these monitors which don't necessarily need, uh, a massive database, right? Like I feel like it's a SQLite kind of use case, but I could
Yeah.
see people, like there'd be some kind of like cellular connection, and you could just say like we're updating the schema, and boom, all the telecom,
Yeah.
towers or devices just get this propagated. And I don't know, I'm just kind of spitballing here, but
Yeah, when you started, I thought you were going to say, "Oh, Travis was driving for miles every weekend to go and like perform individual migrations, and I'm like, yeah,
Yeah,
this
yeah,
is
yeah.
perfect.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I guess I can change the story. Disregard everything I just said, and let's go with what Jamie said.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I mean
but
that for me is what really sells it to me, and also once we figured out like the the local embedded experience. I mean, you can do local to the server, so you can embed the local SQL. But when it comes to like
yeah,
mobile devices, that's something we're figuring out with the with the team and with the community, and
yeah.
want to make that better. It's possible in some ways, but it's mostly over HTTP. Writing to the file
Okay.
system's a bit weird. So once we figured out like the best way to do it, I think it with this, I have a strong feeling that this is going to be a really really good, strong fit for a lot of use cases, like the IoT devices you mentioned. Like just send them
Yeah,
out and they stay up to date.
yeah. And it's like honestly, I'm super impressed with that whole I don't know what the word is. It's not hobbyist, but like that the IoT industry. It's like it's pretty wild how these devices are so powerful now. Like, because I remember, like, I haven't really dabbled too much with the IoT aside from like I have a couple small devices like a Ada Fruit, and I had a microbit which I heard about from the UK educational system. Uh,
Yeah,
there was they gave out these microbit controllers to like I forget what grades. I think it was high school, and they did this for a few. I don't know if they still do it, but that's where I heard about it. But anyways, uh, it's my point more is like all these like IoT devices. Like I remember Raspberry Pis didn't used to be able to do much, and now it's like got USB ports, Ethernet. You can attach like monitors. It's like things have come a long way. Obviously, like the tech's improved, but it's just I guess kind of like in the same vein as SQLite. Like you've got so much power in something that's not necessarily this massive thing. So,
yeah,
anyways, little side tangent.
yeah. But yeah, I said it before. Like that is it. It's simple. It's doing a lot behind the scenes, but I think the multi DB stuff is definitely something. Um, I see a lot of users and fit in a lot of use cases, but we
Mhm.
want feedback. Like we want to figure out. No, we want to ask the hard questions. So you asked one of the hard questions before about you've got data. How do you handle migrations? So
Mhm.
that could be in a variety of different ways. It could be, oh, if you've got files in a certain folder or you've got SQL in a certain folder, we'll execute those for you before we do our stuff, or we'll do our stuff before you do your stuff. So there's
Yeah.
tons of different ideas on how we can make that better. But yeah, the more people using this, the better. And we've got a Discord which is like 4,000 members and it's growing, and
Okay.
like we get lots of feedback, which is great. And that's kind of the core of Turso as well. Is like we value the input from the community as well. So
Okay.
yeah, if this is interesting to anyone watching, definitely let us know
Yeah.
on
Yeah. No, for
there.
sure. I'm just gonna go ahead and I just grabbed the Discord link. I'm just gonna go drop that in the chat if folks want to go ahead and join over there. Um, yeah, it's this sounds like really cool. And so you're still looking for feedback at this point, right? Pretty much.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we've got people using this. I'm using it on a few projects, just kind of trying
Okay.
to figure out what could the future of this look like, and what can we improve to make it better. Um,
Okay.
but yeah,
Yeah, it's kind of funny. Like because you've pretty much shown everything, and it's funny in the sense that like it's that simple that like I was expecting it to have to be like a log or devil, but it was like just like bing bang boom and then we have it. So
yeah, yeah, yeah. When you asked before, it's like we've got an hour. I'm like, we don't need an hour.
yeah, yeah, exactly,
Yeah,
we
but
can finish this by the
yeah.
time we have a coffee.
Yeah, I think what is interesting about like the per user story, where it gets a little bit finicky and there's a lot of devil in the details, is when you do add the auth provider and in that repository you shared earlier. Kind of, it's
Yeah,
very loose, gives a rough example of how you could do it. But essentially, the user signs up, you then trigger something to create a database. Creating
yeah,
databases, like we've seen before, like 500 milliseconds or less. Um, but if for whatever reason that does take time, and the page hasn't refreshed and it's not available, you have to kind of bake that into your app.
Yeah.
Where it's like, you know, hold on, like wait a minute, like before we create this database, um,
Yeah.
or create your account or finish sign up. So you've got to kind of think about that when you're building your app. But I think once you've done that, like it's
Okay.
pretty easy. It's pretty easy.
Yeah, no, that's cool. So yeah, definitely join the Discord. Test this out to give the Turso folks a hand there to see uh, find any bugs in there. But this looks really promising. I was talking to you before the stream where I'm currently using Airtable to pull in like my live stream stuff from Calendly, but it's been on my to do to use Turso instead because there's like a lot more things I want to do with my Astro site. So like I don't know, not
Nice.
related to this exactly, but but I'm just thinking about the templates again. Yeah, I really think somebody, I mean, whether that's Turso or if somebody just indie hacks and just, starts, here's my templates and like, boom, here's your schema and stuff. And like, I guess one question I have is, uh, so like the Astro, we're not really talking about Astro today, but like Astro's database is powered by Turso. Is there any, I guess, is there any use case at the moment for the, like, aside from what I was mentioning about the templates, it's, I guess in the case of Astro, it's really more like you just provision your database for your site, whether that's an application or your blog, right?
Yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
think if you think about Astro DB, you sign up to Astro or you push your database, it creates a database through Turso's API.
Hmm.
But you could think what Astro could do is when you sign into Astro, it creates a database for each of their users, and then things are isolated even further. But
Okay.
that might not be that might like the schema DB stuff might not be for everyone. You can
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
use that user ID column and it works fine. Um, yeah, so you don't have to use it, but
Okay.
it's there if you want to try it.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I really do think though, like for some kind of SaaS business, this will probably be a game changer though.
Yeah, yeah, I definitely think so. But what you said before about the templates as well, I remember seeing many years ago about I worked at a headless CMS and we
Okay.
had when you signed into the platform, you had templates. And I think we ended up creating the ability to share those templates with other users. But yeah, like whether it's us with SQLite.new or whether it's someone in the community that creates these like a library of templates for databases, I
Hmm.
think with SQLite it's the fastest way to kind of create and scaffold databases. But yeah, I think there's a lot of industries which have tried to use that concept of like templates.
Okay.
Like a lot of the deployment platforms do with code, right? But with
Yeah.
databases,
Yeah.
I don't see it a lot. But I guess this is, yeah,
Yeah.
perfect.
I I haven't seen it because like I used to work at Netlify and there would be templates, uh, and there was like some stuff like uh, you couldn't run, like you could clone the template and you could deploy it, but because you didn't have API keys yet for like say the data or access to your database, it's like the
Yeah,
app wouldn't work right away. So like that's why I'm thinking like there's a story here to like to wire up the database right away and then spin up your template that you just cloned. Um,
yeah, yeah. No, it's
yeah,
a good one. If you want, yeah,
yeah,
I mean, if you do want to migrate to Turso, definitely down to help you out. And
yeah,
um,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
we've got
There's
the Discord and
Yeah, no, I'll definitely check out the Discord. Yeah, I think for me, like, not schema, multi-tenancy related, but yeah, for me, it's like because I use it for my live stream schedule and like past videos. Right now, like I kind of hack things in the front end to say like if I have two guests, sometimes I kind of basically make the first person the first name of the person, and then I make the second person the last name. And there's like stuff like that where I know like this is something I would want to do in an actual database where I'd have like a list of my past and current guests, and then like I could also say like it's not often that I have multi guests, but like it has
Yeah.
happened a few times. So like, just being able to have that, set up in the database, and there's just a lot of things I want to do with it once it's in like a database like Turso. So it's kind of like it's one of those things. Uh, I have to get in the mindset to do it because things are working right now. But
Yeah.
it's kind of like what I started working at Netlify like 3 weeks before after I'd left Dev 2. I was like, okay, this is where I'm updating my website, and I automated a bunch of stuff, and I need, not that I want to leave my job just to change my database, but I need I definitely need like some pocket of time. And nowadays it's usually like a Friday night where I just get nerd sniped and I'll be like, okay, I'm doing this now. So
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. One thing I forgot. Two things actually came to mind about the schema stuff. Because I
Okay.
don't just want to sit here and be like, "Oh, this is perfect. Everyone should use it." Like I said, if you want to use
Yeah.
it this way, you can. But one thing that I see that I've faced is if you want to kind of aggregate stuff across databases for whatever reason. Now, I
Mhm.
think, let's say you do the per user model, it becomes a bit more difficult to kind of go, okay, select all to dos from all my user tables, right? Like,
Yeah.
how do you do that? There's one way, which is with attach, which is SQL's like attach feature, so you can open a shell, attach different databases, but there's limits there, and
Yeah.
that's not very performant. Um, so that it might not be perfect for everyone. Now, on a per tenant basis, that might not be, that might not be even relevant because
Mhm.
you can still have different users in your tenants database. And like
Yeah.
like Astro, for example, like Astro give you a database, that's yours. The other, that's yours. You can do whatever you want with it. They're not
Mhm.
aggregating data between your database and other people's databases. That's
Yeah.
not relevant. But to them, these schema databases, if they wanted to kind of give everyone one table in all of them and they couldn't modify it, that kind of use case, um,
Yeah.
it's not relevant. Um, but yeah, there's the attach limits, and then aggregating data is kind of a bit tricky, but it might,
Okay.
it might not be relevant.
Yeah. Well, I guess like anything, not to throw this senior engineer quotes out here, but like it depends, and and there's always
Yeah,
trade-offs with whatever you're using, right? So,
hundred.
but having said that, like Turso seems like a really compelling database for a lot of use cases, I think.
Yeah, yeah. I think this year we've had one launch week this year. We had one late last year, and since I've joined, it's just been feature after feature after feature.
Hmm.
And at the same time, we're kind of improving and making things more stable. And we came out and said it's ready for production. So now, people can use this. We are serious. SQLite has, like we opened the discussion, like it's got these, it's got these negative vibes of being lightweight and not a proper
Yeah.
database, but it can be. So the teams work really hard, and it can do things like branching, restoring from timestamps,
Okay.
restoring from other databases, creating databases from other databases, seeding from those, the point time recovery, scale to zero. It does it does pretty much what every other database does. And our
Hmm.
latest thing that we announced was vector support.
Oh yeah, that's
Um,
right. Yeah.
so yeah, that's been really fun.
Yeah. So
I don't know if you've seen much of that.
I haven't. We can here. Let me switch back to pairing view just so I can load up just the website. So yeah, so I guess yeah, to so like there's a lot of AI stuff going on, but like a vector database doesn't necessarily have to be for AI. It's just it's a useful tool for finding things in general. And
Yeah.
I don't know if there's a link on the site, or where should I head to if we want to take a
If you
peek?
go to Turso.ai,
Okay. All right. Oh, I'm on the wrong screen. Sorry. There we go. Turso.ai. Okay.
yeah.
I'll j-
So yeah,
Yeah,
it's
go
just the
ahead.
main
I'm just
website.
gonna
Yeah,
I'm just gonna share it in the chat. But yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
yeah. So we have, well, SQLite had various extensions, and there's some great extensions for adding uh, vector search in similarity search to SQLite. But you have to load the
Hmm.
extension. It's maintained by someone else. It needs to be added and brought around with this file. And it's just a bit heavy. It's time consuming to load, etc. So
Yeah.
Turso forked SQLite to change many things. Under the hood with how it deals with replication um, and while mode. So with with it being a fork of SQLite, libSQL, the team's able to modify the data types. So with with um, with this, we can
Okay.
now just specify we want to create a table, and it's not another type of database. It's not these special vector databases. It's just a
Hmm.
SQLite file, no extensions installed, but
Okay.
you can mark a column on a database as a vector supported column. You can
Oh,
then
okay.
create
Cool.
databases for you can create indexes for the search abilities as well, which
Yeah.
is it's just SQLite with support for like adding embeddings and
No,
vector
that's super. That's
vector
super cool.
embeddings. So like it's cool. It's built in. You don't have to use something special. So
Yeah.
this is brand new. This is really new. I've written on the blog about this a few times with some examples.
Okay.
Um, and yeah, you can. Yeah, I don't think we do. The one thing we don't have is a quick start in the docs for AI because it's so new. Um,
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
we generally share it with the community first, get their feedback, and then make it a little bit more official on the website.
Yeah.
But this landing page, I think, has a snippet with instructions on how you can kind of create a database, connect to
Okay.
it, and the blog as well. I released a post earlier today about using Open AI. I'm very new to all this, by the way, but I was exploring using Open AI to generate embeddings. So I thought
Okay.
I'd create a blog post on storing them inside of Turso. So
Yeah. No, it's
it's
super
really
cool.
new, and
Yeah.
it's really nice.
I think one thing that's interesting about this is because like people are always concerned about privacy. Like, I mean, I use AI tooling every day. Like, I use Copilot, I use Claude and ChatGPT and all those things. But they're in the cloud, and like, uh, I think I think there's definitely a use case. Like, there's even large language models you can run on your local and stuff. And I could see like this for like for RAG, just in a local instance, this could be super powerful. I mean, obviously you can deploy it, so it's in the cloud too. But like, I could see this being useful for people where they really just want to train things, or like, use it as like their own local kind of like chat gpt-ish thing
Yeah,
with it.
yeah,
So it's
yeah,
it's pretty neat. But that's super
yeah,
cool that you built in that type. And I guess that's an interesting thing about it. So like, because it's a fork of SQLite, you're obviously still respecting what SQLite does, because if people ever wanted to use, SQLite, you'd still have to support what they do, but you can enhance it, which is pretty cool.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's always been kind of we have a libSQL manifest. So the team thought long and hard about forking the library SQLite, and they
Okay.
did. They did that really because SQLite is open source but not open. Uh, it, co- you know, open source but no open contribution or something like that.
Yeah.
It's not open contribution, but it's open source. So it's really hard and difficult to get anything into SQLite, which is fine. But the team wanted to be able to kind of move a little bit quicker and add things, I guess,
Hmm.
that maybe didn't fit everyone's needs of SQLite, and no,
Okay.
not everyone needed the replication aspect of it. So yeah, they end up forking it. This was way before my times. I don't know all of the
Yeah. Yeah.
details, but what that opens is the ability to kind of modify it to add this. But
Hmm.
with kind of the manifesto for libSQL, you can still you can still create a SQLite file and then open it with libSQL and vice
Okay.
versa. Now, under the hood with Vector, it just stores it as a blob. So even if you did open it in SQLite, it would show as a blob And even if you were
Oh,
storing a
okay.
blob in SQLite, you wouldn't be able to do much with it, but it would still be there. So the compatibility is there both
Oh, okay,
ways
okay.
to some degree.
Yeah, no, that's nice. Yeah, no, I know. I haven't worked with low level stuff like that, but I know when I spoke to Glauber, like he used to work on like the Linux kernel and stuff like that. So like he's used to the super low level, and I think a lot of your technical team, like obviously you need to kind of
Oh
have
yeah,
those skills to be able to do these things. But
yeah.
I'm happy to just be a consumer of it.
Me too. Me too. Me too. I'm like, I'm telling you how cool all this is, and I'm like, I love this stuff. And the team is honestly the team. We have a call a few times a week, and the team's just talking about stuff, and I'm like, I think I understand that. But yeah,
Yeah,
it's
no,
so
totally,
cool.
totally. Awesome. I'm just gonna bring us back to chatting here. Um, yeah, I mean, again, like I was saying, it is kind of funny. Like I was like, I normally book an hour and a half, but like it was so easy to go through how that all worked. That yeah, just super cool stuff that the team's working on, and also thanks for showing this the new vector database extension here because that's something interesting that folks should check out. I think too.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Happy to kind of come on in the future once I understand vectors a bit more. Um, Chat about that a bit more
yeah,
in depth. Um,
yeah, no, for sure.
yeah. I
I'd be
would.
down for that. Sorry, go ahead.
No, no, go on.
No, I was just gonna say I'm kind of new to that space as well, and I'm ramping up on AI stuff for work as well. So I would totally be down for it could be a fun stream where we're like, what can Nick and Jamie do with a vector database?
Yeah, let's learn together, figure it out.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I've used ChatGPT, in Claude. You mentioned Claude. I switched to that like last week with 3.5 Sonnet.
Okay, yeah,
Absolutely,
yeah.
it's so good. But yeah, when it comes to kind of vector databases, I've always been a bit like, oh, it's a database. Like, oh, I've got to set this database up and then configure it, and like, oh, I just want to use SQLite because I love SQLite now. And
Yeah,
then
yeah,
now we've got the support. I'm like, okay, I'm going to give this a serious go. And then once I looked into it, I was like, is this all it is? Like, is this all it is? I put I know the embeddings is one part, the vectors is one part, and it does a lot more. But being
hmm
able to put those in a database and generate those, and then using some language model to kind of create those, and then with the RAG stuff you mentioned, when you pull those out, um,
yeah.
it's not that complicated. It's just all these different libraries. I think is what put me off at the beginning, like LangChain and
Okay,
Hugging Face and all these models. It's like, where do I go to get started? So like,
yeah.
that definitely sounds like a cool episode we could do. Like, figure it out.
Yeah, no, I'd totally be down for that. Yeah, we could. Well, yeah, like you said, once this is a little more, once you have the docs out and stuff, I'd definitely be down for that in the fall or like late fall if you're up for it for sure.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
totally.
cool. I dropped some links where people can give you a follow, and I dropped the link to Turso again if folks want to check that out. Yeah, I guess to summarize, lots of cool stuff happening at Turso. SQLite does not mean it's a light database. It's super powerful. And it sounds like you got a great team there. And yeah, I actually got to see Glauber recently in Montreal because, well, he's in, I think he's in London, Ontario, which isn't too far from Montreal. But he came down for the Astro meetup where they were revealing a bunch of their new features. So got a chance to kind of just say hey for a little bit. So it's good to see him again. But
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
I
I wish I could have gone to that. It looked awesome.
yeah,
Looked really well put together.
it was, and to be honest, it said it was an Astro meetup, and when I got there, it was not a meetup. It was like a very nice venue. Like I was expecting, you know, just like a box of pizza in the corner, something, but it was not
Yeah,
that. There was like even like an espresso machine that would 3D print like a logo on top and stuff. It was pretty nice.
yeah,
Anyways, um,
yeah.
But yeah, I was gonna say like for yourself, like obviously you're working at Turso, but um, in terms of like if folks want to give you a follow, I dropped links like I said, but have you been? I know you were talking about getting back into streaming. Do you have like a YouTube channel or anything you wanna or anything you wanna plug? Feel free to shamelessly plug.
Yeah, To be honest, I've got a YouTube channel. I don't do too much with it. I'll paste the link in the chat.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, I don't do too much with it. I've started recently to start trying creating videos again, just to get into the habit of like recording, getting comfortable
Okay.
recording videos and editing and publishing. So I just, if I'm learning something, I'll just create a short video and post it on there. So trying to
Okay.
get back into that. But yeah, Twitter is where you'll find me mostly um, talking about Turso and trying to convince Globo to buy more domains. Um, yeah, uh,
Yeah.
that's
No, that's
about it,
cool.
really. Yeah,
Yeah, awesome. Like,
I've got my own website which I'm trying to rebuild with Astro.
okay.
I've been using Astro loads. I'm trying to rebuild my website, but I've been trying to do it for years, and it still stays. My current website still says I work at a company I worked at like 3, 4, 5 years ago. Um,
Okay.
but yeah.
Yeah. I guess time to update it, but
Oh
cool,
yeah,
cool.
definitely,
All right.
definitely.
All right, awesome. Yeah, well, no, this has been great chatting, Jamie. I'm glad we finally got a chance to hang out. And yeah, I'm totally down for us having some fun hacking away on something with the vector database at some point. And
Yeah.
yeah, aside from that, I'm just gonna drop a link to the stream schedule. Got uh, some interesting folks coming on next week. Gonna be hanging with my old manager, Claire Knight. Who's,
Oh,
uh,
yeah.
she's awesome. I
I met her
believe
in
she's.
JamStackConf.
Oh, okay, cool, cool. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure she's head of engineering now at Netlify. I didn't realize that
yeah.
until recently, but and I'm also going to be hanging out with uh, someone from my virtual coffee community, Brian Meeker. He works at a company called Get Through. He's going to kind of give me an intro to Elixir, which I've never looked at, never
Wow.
touched before. So, anyways, should be
Nice.
fun. Going into the unknown, but I'll just drop the schedule there for anybody interested. And aside from that, happy Friday, folks. Thanks again, Jamie, for hanging. And if you don't mind just staying on for a second, and everybody else, enjoy the weekend.
Thanks very much.